A young girl, Wendy, sits in her room and writes a script about two astronauts lost in space. Wendy has autism and a poor memory, which makes it a must for her caregiver, Scotty, to question her progress. Wendy talks about all her uncontrollable impulses and the organized, coded ways she managed to take care of herself. That night, she sees an advertisement on TV she's familiar with, a screenwriting competition for young Star Trek fans, which Wendy very much is. The next day, Wendy asks Scotty to check out the script she wrote for the competition. Wendy's older sister, Audrey, takes out the piano in her house, telling her husband how she preferred it when her sister played it. She then enters the house and finds a tape with Wendy and her name on it. She gets emotional watching clips of them when they were young, showing the two extremes of Wendy's mental state back then. In an office, Audrey and Scotty discuss Wendy and her improvement. Audrey is a bit nervous about seeing her sister. Scotty reassures her that Wendy's gotten better and leaves the two alone. They start off by complimenting each other's outfits. Audrey asks her if she likes her new job, to which Wendy replies no, but she likes that she makes Cinnabons. As their conversation goes on, Audrey pulls out a picture of her child, Ruby, that she brought for Wendy to keep. She asks when she'll be able to see her niece. Audrey changes the subject to her husband, Jack, who finally has a new job. Wendy interrupts her and starts speaking hurriedly about the Star Trek movie script she wrote. She asks her sister to take her to the post office to submit it, and then take her home with her afterwards. Audrey asks her when she planned this out, but she's even more surprised when her sister explains the further details of her plan. She reveals that if her script wins the contest, she'll have $100,000, which would make her less of a burden to her sister, and they wouldn't have to sell their mother's home either. Although Wendy sounds sure about going back home and taking care of Ruby with her sister, Aubrey tells her that she's not capable of caring for children or ready to leave for home yet. This triggers Wendy, who screams, holding onto her ears, like a child for her sister to shut up. She breaks down as Scotty and Aubrey try to calm her. In the heat of the breakdown, Aubrey is hit on the face by her sister. Scotty slowly repeats the phrase, "Please stand by," to the panicking Wendy, eventually regaining her lost composure. Aubrey walks to her car and cries uncontrollably because of her sister's behavior. Back in her room, Wendy cries, calculating the days left for the submission of the script. She realizes that there's no way she can mail it without it reaching its destination later than the deadline. She contemplates going on a trip to deliver the script by herself. Hesitant at first, she plans her journey to the smallest details and packs her backpack with foods and items. Wendy leaves Scotty's place, determined to give her script a chance. Her dog Pete follows her out and refuses to go back inside, leaving her with no choice but to take it with her. Scotty returns home and can't find Wendy, who's walking around bus stops asking if they're going to Los Angeles. One of the drivers tells her to go to the bus station instead. This results in Wendy taking the first step in her journey by crossing Market Street, the street that her caregiver, Scotty, tells her never to cross. In the bus station, Wendy awkwardly buys herself a round-trip ticket to Los Angeles and enters the bus. Pets aren't allowed inside, but she sneaks Pete inside. The dog pees on the bus, getting them both kicked out in the next stop. Scotty calls Audrey, telling her she can't locate Wendy and she should stay put in case she's coming her way. While on the phone, Scotty notices the Star Trek script competition pinned to the wall. On the road, Wendy and Pete come across an abandoned corn farm. She sees water leaking and offers her dog some of it to drink. As they're about to leave, Wendy hears baby noises nearby. She walks around to find a young woman holding a little girl. Wendy tells the mother about her niece, Ruby, who she hasn't met yet. She then reveals the reason her sister sent her away, which is the tantrums she used to pull as a kid. The mother tells Wendy that she's not threatened by her and that she can hold the child if she'd like. Wendy doesn't trust herself that well yet, so she refuses. She tells the woman of her journey to Paramount Pictures. She gets invited to come with the woman and her boyfriend, who also happen to be on their way to Los Angeles. Wendy agrees and rushes to fill her water bottle first. Unaware that the mother stole her money, Wendy approaches their car. The boyfriend snatches the iPod and notebook she wears on her neck. She manages to get her notebook back by screaming. Scotty reports Wendy's disappearance to the police, hoping she's okay. She calls Audrey to tell her that her sister was on a bus to Los Angeles and got dropped off on the road. Meanwhile, Wendy arrives in a noisy town. It doesn't help her since she needs music to calm her down and her iPod's been stolen. She enters a shop. She's shocked to find her money's been stolen earlier. Her candies are still in her bag though. She attempts to sell them, but the cashier tries to buy them at a cheaper price. An old lady stands up for her, and she gets her the money the candies deserve. The woman, concerned about Wendy being alone while it's getting dark, asks for her company as she's going to Los Angeles as well. Audrey is worried about her sister and decides to leave her husband with the baby at home and go find her herself. In the van, Wendy tells the woman the reason why she's going to Paramount Pictures, which is to submit her almost 500-page script about Mr. Spock, who finds a scientific equation for jokes but is separated from his friend. The old woman tells Wendy that her grandson would understand whatever she's talking about and would probably find her cool too. Wendy asks her why she doesn't live with her grandson and instead in a retirement home. The woman tells her she didn't want to be a burden to her family anymore. The old man driving the retirement home van gets sleepy while driving at night. The scene changes to Wendy on a hospital bed, asking the doctors surrounding her if they'd like a Cinnabon. She, fortunately, only has a mild concussion. Scotty's at home calling hospitals for any five Jane Does with blonde hair. They tell her there's so many blonde Jane Does that are also 5-something. They mention that they even have one with a dog, and Scotty asks if that dog has a Star Trek uniform, revealing that it's Pete. In the car, Scotty asks her son why he thinks Wendy's so obsessed with Star Trek. He tells her it's the characters. Mr. Spock, for example, is a half-human, half-alien creature that has trouble dealing with his emotions. Back at the hospital, Wendy manages to trick the nurse watching over her by hiding in the cabinets under the sink and making him think she jumped out the window. She can't find Pete, so she leaves food and swears to come back for him. Running down the emergency stairs, she bumps with a nurse going up the stairs. The pages from her script fall from her backpack. Wendy panics to pick them, but the nurse is chasing her approach, so she leaves it and runs away. Scotty and her son pull over at the hospital. Sam picks one of the papers on the ground, proving that it's Wendy's script. They, along with Audrey, cause a commotion in the hospital as Scotty's son rearranges the papers. No longer accompanied by her dog, Wendy hopelessly sits on the road. On what remains of her script, she reads a line by Mr. Spock. The only logical direction to go is forward. This gives her some hope. She takes a few papers in the trash can of a closed delivery service. She writes the pages she lost on the back of them. Wendy then walks to a bus station at night. She's told that the next bus is at 8 a.m. the next day. She waits the whole night in the bathroom. Audrey and Scotty are worried at the motel they're staying at. Scotty admits that Wendy's the most complex, creative person she's ever taken care of. Audrey tells her that their late single mother is more patient than she could ever be to Wendy. She regrets not trusting her enough. Two officers locate Wendy, who they identify from the missing person poster. She runs away when they approach her, but they catch onto her anyway. One of the officers, careful of scaring her away, talks to her in Klingon, a language from Star Trek. This calms her, and she goes with them to the police station in downtown Los Angeles. Scotty, Sam, Pete, and Aubrey arrive at the police station. They're relieved to find Wendy safe and give her the scripts she lost back. They all hurry to Paramount Pictures, due to the time of the deadline approaching. Wendy leaves the car, and Audrey's nervous, but Scotty tells her her sister's got this. Wendy responsibly waits at the signs before crossing the road. This impresses her sister, who still is getting a hang of allowing her to take care of herself. Inside the mailroom, a man in charge dismisses Wendy, claiming that scripts can only enter the competition through mail, even if she's not late. She tries to convince him, but he's too stubborn and doesn't appreciate that she's delivering it herself. Angered by his attitude, Wendy snaps at the man, asking him if he knows all the struggles one would go through writing a script, all the effort and energy and time it would take. Wendy demands a chance like everyone got. The man calls for security. She asks him who she is, to which he replies, no. Happy with his answer, she submits the script herself and walks out. At night, Wendy and her sister have a talk. Audrey tells her she's proud of her, and she wants to do what their mom would want from them. Wendy tells her sister that their mom's dead, which means she doesn't want anything anymore. In her imagination of the two astronauts in the middle of nowhere, Spock is revealed to be Wendy, and Kirk is her sister Audrey. Scotty tells Wendy that she's an excellent writer. Unfortunately though, Wendy's script wasn't selected as a winner for the competition. This doesn't discourage her though. She gets a letter from her sister about Ruby, her niece wanting to meet her. Wendy arrives at her sister's house, calling her out through the piano at the door. In the final scene, Wendy asks to hold Ruby. Audrey lets her, and the child sleeps in her arms as she leans on her sister. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.